And we are live. Welcome,
Hello.
everyone. Yes, welcome everyone to our live and podcast. I am Rebbetzin Bat-Chen Grossman. This is Eliezer, my baby. And this is Bayla. Bayla, tell us everything about you because this is an amazing, fascinating podcast all about young mothers.
Yeah, so my name is Bayla Abdurakmanov. I am an identity coach for moms and matrescence educator. If you don't know what matrescence is, don't worry, we'll get into that. So I basically help new moms and moms of young children who are experiencing burnout to feel like themselves again. And that is what I do.
That's amazing. Okay, get into it because I want to know, what is matrescence?
Yes, this is the question. What is matrescence? So matrescence is the process of a woman becoming a mother. And a lot of times we think that, okay, we get pregnant and we're a mother, and we're aware of the hormonal changes, right? We know about the hormonal changes. We know about some of the biological changes, but this process is not just, there is the hormonal aspect, there's the biological aspect, there's the psychological and emotional aspect, there's the social aspect, the economic aspect. Like, motherhood impacts us in all areas of our life. And so that's what matrescence is. It is the process of women becoming a mother. It actually, what scholars and researchers have discovered is that the brains of a mother look different than the brains of a woman who has not had children or of a man. And so that means that our brain actually changes on a biological level with each pregnancy and with each new child we bring into the world.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it definitely happens every single time you give birth because I have multiple kids and I feel a difference every time. Like, there is a transition.
Yes, 100%. So it happens every time you give birth. I think for a lot of moms, the first time would probably be sort of, they notice it the most because there is that huge transition from not being a mom to being a mom. But there are the changes that take place every single time. And some experts say that, so the agreement is that it's a minimum of 2 years matrescence where your brain is actually changing and these biological processes are taking place. But some experts say it can actually last up to an entire lifetimes that our brain is still changing based on motherhood. So, a lot of times moms will say, I don't get it, I feel so different. Well, you feel different because you actually are different. Your brain is different. So it's not just your body, but it's your brain that changes as well. So that's just a little insight into what
Yes,
matrescence is.
yes, yes, yes. We feel different. And I'll tell you the truth, I am surrounded in my community now. There's like a baby boom, and I'm
Oh, wow.
surrounded, thank God, all these beautiful moms, and they're young and they have, 3 kids under 3 or 4 kids under 6 or, 2 kids under 3, whatever. Like, it's just overwhelming. And it's hard for me to watch them because I'm like, it's part of the process, honey. It's okay. But it's like, don't tell me that. I want to just like kill, like it's so hard to hear. It's normal to be tired, allow yourself to just be in the moment and like be present right now when it's okay. And it's like, no, I want it to go away. I don't want to be tired. I don't want to be feeling like this, right? So there's like
Mhm.
a real struggle.
Yes.
Let's get into that because they need a little bit of strengthening up to do. They need help.
Yeah. Definitely. So there's a few things I want to bring up here. One is, if we know that matrescence lasts a minimum of 2 years, but and I'm not saying, I actually also did the 3 kids under 4. My daughter actually turned 4 5 days before my baby was born, and then I had my 2-year-old in between. So I did that. But that means that it's kind of like matrescence on overload, because you never give yourself a chance to get through what I call the identity gap. So, as part of matrescence, because you are changing, not just your body, your brain is changing, you have these emotional changes and all these things going on. There is a change in your identity. Now, we get that there's a change in your identity when you become a mom. Yes, you're taking on a new identity as a mother, but it's bigger than that. It really, a lot of times, a lot of moms will say, I used to be XYZ, or I used to be able to do XYZ. Why do I feel differently about that now? Right? And it's because there is what I call the identity gap. So really, it's supposed to be an identity shift. We're supposed to shift, more smoothly into that identity. But when we don't have the guidance and we don't know what's actually going on with us, right? It's harder to do that because we're in this place of confusion. Like, why do I feel this way? I love my kids. I'm in love with my kids. I'm head over heels in love with them. But at the same time, why do I feel just so off and so not myself and so tired all the time and so overwhelmed, right? So there's the identity gap where you're trying to make this identity shift. You're going through this matrescence, but yet you're changing yet again, because especially for the young moms that have a lot of children under 3, 4, 5, 6 years old, they have 3 or 4 children. It's like matrescence overload, right? So there's that piece to it. There's the identity shift piece.
I love it that you called it a gap, because it really feels like a gap. It's this real big gaping hole of like, what is going on, right? I've been there, you've been there, we've all been there. I don't know anybody who hasn't had that like shock of, oh my gosh, this is actually real, right?
Right.
Like they talk about the fact that you forget things when you're pregnant, and you put the phone in the freezer and you put whatever, like you're talking, you're like, where are my glasses? And they're right in your face. Like, this is really, it becomes real when you're in it, and you're shocked because you're expecting to be better than that, or you're expecting something miraculous to happen that like, it won't get to me because I'm I'm preparing or whatever, preventing, but it's just part of the process.
Yeah, it is part of the process. And I think the thing is, I think the mistake that a lot of us make is we try and get back to who we were. Like, oh, I just want to feel like myself again. I just want to be able to do those things, or I want to like the same things that I liked and do the same things that I did, when actually we're supposed to be different. We're supposed to embrace the change.
I love that you said that. By the way, my intimacy masterclass and day 5 of my retreat is all about that. Stop trying to go backwards and start going forward. Oh, I love it, because it is exactly what's holding all of us back. Even in COVID, think about it. Everybody's like, we just go back to real life, and it's like, no. The world has evolved. You cannot go backwards. You can only go forwards. Figure out what is happening from here on. Like, how is this going to take us to a better place? Let's focus on ideal situation and not going back to what we are comfortable with or what we used to. So I love
that. Yes, 100%. And I love that you cover that in your class, because basically what we do is we try and contract ourselves. This is the words I like to use. We contract ourselves to fit back into that little box of who we were. We're really supposed to expand ourselves. Like, actually, this is expanding our potential of who we can be in all areas of our life, not just in motherhood. But motherhood actually expands who we can be if we're business owners, and how we show up in our business, in our marriages, in all areas. And it's an entire change to the entire identity of who we are. And we should embrace it rather than fighting ourselves to get back to where we were before.
I love that you said that, because it goes so well with all of this, all of the. Thank you. You want to say something?
He agreed.
Yes, there's agreement. All about the vessel and growing your vessel and being able to contain more and to hold more space. You are the vessel of everything that you do. And when you're expanding, then more can come in. We talk about abundance, we talk about all this amazing stuff. This is amazing, because you're actually saying research approves, that we are becoming more. Instead, like how my mother always said, every baby I have makes more room in my heart for, for more love. And that it's not taking away from anyone else's love. It's just more love all around. And it's like, yeah, right. But no, she's right, And now that I'm living it, I totally get it. There is no lack. There's just more abundance.
Right. 100%. And it's so amazing because I think a lot of times we feel like, I don't know, I feel different. I have this going on, but we don't get why. And sometimes half of it is just understanding, like, actually, this is real. This is real. It really is happening to you. And there is real changes that are taking place. That gives us a sense of peace, I think, when we understand there's something real to it. It's not just, and not that our feelings are invalid. Our feelings are very valid. But I think a lot of women feel good when they're like, oh, the science is showing that it's true. I feel this way for a reason.
So let's get practical, because a lot of people are sitting there going, yes, now what? Right? How do
Yeah.
I deal with this? How do I overcome this feeling of not feeling like myself or wanting to find myself again, or just, the overwhelm of being tired, having kids to take care of, not really taking care of yourself and knowing you should, but not really figuring out how. Like, there's a lot of questions up in the air, and it feels really good to validate that it's normal. But now, what is
Now
practical?
what do we do, right?
Yes. What do we do with this next?
Okay. So let me tell you the 3 steps I walk all my clients through. Okay. And these are the 3 things that we need. These are the practical steps, right? So here we go. First step, it's an acronym. It's MEE, me. So it's first step is meet yourself where you are at. What that means is get present to where you are right now. A lot of women want to jump to the change stage. I want to be different. I want to have more energy, and I don't want to feel overwhelmed anymore. And I just want to be myself. No, we cannot do that. First, we have to meet ourselves where we're at. Get curious when you are feeling overwhelmed. Just be curious about that. Okay, I'm feeling really overwhelmed right now. I wonder why that is, right? You can do a little bit of journaling. Some women like to journal. You can just be present in the moment. You can stop yourself in the moment and just be super curious. And remember, this stage should be without any judgment. So we shouldn't be judging ourselves, because that happens a lot where we're like, I'm overwhelmed. I shouldn't be overwhelmed. What should I do? No, not that type of getting present. This type of getting present is, I'm feeling a little bit of overwhelm right now. What does that feel like in my body? Maybe my hands are getting a little bit like shaky. Maybe my heart is beating a little faster. Maybe I just, feel this maybe heaviness, right? Just get present to what it feels like in my body. Get curious. Okay, why am I feeling this way? Maybe do a little journaling and just be present with yourself. So that's one, without
Love
judgment.
that. So that's basically bringing awareness and not judging it, just being in it. Be
Yeah.
in the moment, in yourself, because what you're saying is, when we're feeling that, it's like, I should be there.
Mm-hmm.
I know where I am now, but I'm not happy with where I am. I should be there, and I'm not, and I'm not accepting present moment, which is like, we're fighting reality, basically.
Right. And if we don't do this step, we're never going to get there. We will
Right.
get there eventually, but we have to do this step first.
Yes. Yes, this is so powerful. Okay, where's the other E?
Okay. So, just a second part to this step, by the way, the next follow up, this could take every woman, this takes a different amount of time, right? To really get present and be accepting of where you're at. So it's
Mm,
not like I'll tell you, okay, you do this for a week and move on. Every woman is different. And until you really get to the acceptance stage, that's when we know you're ready to move on. But part of that stage, of this M stage of meeting yourself where you're at, the next step of just noticing and getting curious, the next step is trying to have compassion on yourself, because that compassion is going to help you with the second E, or the first E that comes. Okay. So
right.
that's the second part of that.
So, but don't you feel like I get that you put it all in one M, because it is so intertwined, that when you do bring awareness, your compassion is not judging it. Like,
Right.
it really it is part of that same step. They work together, it feels like.
Definitely. Definitely. I think for some women, for them, it's easier to just be curious and non-judgmental. And for other women, they can even go further with that and say, I hear you. You're really having a hard day today, my love. And actually speak to yourself like you'd want to speak to your child, with kindness and compassion and empathy. So, some women are ready to move on and do that before they get to the first E, which is embody the vision. So this is the step. Once you're comfortable, you've met yourself where you're at, you've accepted it, you've brought compassion to yourself. The second step is now you're ready to embody the vision of who you want to be. And I specifically don't say what you want to do, because a lot of times we get caught up in what we want to do and we forget that you have to be a certain person in order to do those things. So this is where you create your future vision. But the reason I say embody is because it's not enough to just create it and say, what kind of mother do I want to be? What kind of wife do I want to be? What kind of, maybe I have a business, what kind of business owner or employee? What kind of person do I want to be in the world, right? So we want to ask those questions, but then that's just the beginning. We have to then embody that woman we imagine ourselves to be, or that we want to be, right? So we have to feel, how does she feel? When this event happens, how does she react? That woman that I want to be, that woman that I know I have the potential to be. And so we actually practice embodying those thoughts and those feelings of that woman. And that is the second step.
Oh, I love this. So as part of this, do you first create her and then embody her? Like, I feel like you would have to really get in touch with what it is you want, which is a huge, huge part of my work. Is like, in my CALM method, CALM, C is connect to yourself and really getting in touch with what you want.
Right.
Because without that, you can't go forward. Like
you're lost. Yeah.
Right. A lot of people have a hard time knowing what they want. And then, so like, I don't know where I'm going. So what's, how can I embody that?
Definitely. So I do something called connecting to your inner knowing. I call it your inner knowing. Everyone probably has different words for it. But that is part of that step. And you're right. Like, someone cannot create the vision if they don't even know what they want. So that's all part of that, is learning how to listen to your inner knowing and what you actually want. Creating the vision, which is a whole, thing in itself, is actually creating that vision, and then embodying that vision and stepping into that woman of who you want to be.
This is so powerful. So, so powerful, because actually that's how I grew my business. Was I worked with Debbie Sasson, you know her?
Yeah, of course.
She's an amazing coach, and she made me actually really get in touch with that part of me, like that future me who's successful and happy and, doing what she loves to do, blah, blah, blah. And how does she react, and what would she say, and how would she feel? And I got so clear on that. It worked like magic.
Yes. So Debbie and I learned at the same coaching school, if you can't tell, at least with this step, right? So yeah, that is so important, because a lot of times we'll think about, in certain moments, we might think about, like, I wish I would do it this way. I wish I would be like that. But that's as far as it goes. So that's why I call it the embody step, because it's really about embodying it. And that's what Debbie was doing with you when she was saying, how would you react in this situation? Right? She was getting you to embody it.
I think it was before she went to the program.
Oh, that's funny. So she was really on her way. She knew what she was doing.
She knows what she's doing. Like, anybody listening, go talk to her. No, she's amazing. She's really great. She put me on the right track. And that was my goal when working with her, was like, put me on the right track, because I want to know what to do. Like, I don't want to be, in a fuzzy bumping into things. I just want to turn on the light and start walking. So I knew what I wanted. And I think that was helpful to her, because we were working really well together.
That's great. That's amazing.
You have to find the right person for you. And today I was talking to someone. This is a tangent, but I think it's really important for people to hear. Yeah, but I tried already and it didn't work, right? You have that like feeling of, because I failed once or failed twice, then it's not worth it. No, so you found the coach that's not for you. So find another one, right? Like, figure out who is for you, but don't give up. Don't stop trying. Don't lose hope just because it didn't work the first time, right? Or
Absolutely.
like somebody said it the other day about, oh, I tried hiring, help in the house with cleaning, whatever. It was such a disaster that I'd never tried again. And I just do it all myself. Like, okay, let's take a deep breath. It's okay. Something didn't go right. But it doesn't mean you give up and stop it. You don't. You just keep going.
Absolutely. I mean, I believe strongly in, there is an energy between people. Different people give off different energy and, you know, spiritually. And, you know, I'm not the coach for everybody, but there's a coach out there for you if you're listening. And there are some people that I'm the coach for, and there are some
Right.
people that I'm not. And it means nothing about me. It means nothing about them. It means we're just not energetically, energetically connected, and that's fine. Right.
Yeah.
So you have to find what works for you and who works for you.
I take that to the next level. I think that God designs it, you know, it's
Yeah.
all predetermined who's going to work with who, but you have to be ready to work with them. And sometimes you have to have those failures to prepare you for the next step. You know, I love failure because it pushes you forward, you know, like
Absolutely.
I had a coach who said, fall forward, you know, just any fall you have, use it to fuel you to move forward instead of constantly falling back and being back in square one. No, you're never in square one. Really visualize that. I'm falling forward. So I had to fail. So I'm going to keep going and learn from it and really take it apart. Anyway, total tangent. Let's go back to mothering because it's really, really fascinating.
Yeah, sure. But that was an important tangent. I would agree with you.
Yes. It came to me and we had to go there. So now we're back here.
Okay, so we're
What
going to the next
is,
step.
yes, what's the next E?
The next E is embrace the growth, because what's going to happen is you have the meat step where you've done the acceptance and the compassion. And then you have the embody step where you've listened to your inner knowing, you've created your vision, you've embodied it. And now you're ready to get running. And guess what's going to happen? You already have neural pathways in your brain that have been reinforced over many years, and for some of us, many decades. And so your immediate reaction to things is going to be the old version of you. And you are going to, at that point, some women, I shouldn't say you're going to do this, but some women will get really hard on themselves and judge themselves like, why? I did the work. I know where I want to be. What's going on, right? But the more we fight that, just like in the first step, the harder it is to change. The more we fight, all we have to do is embrace it. We are in a process of growth. We need to embrace it. And so when those things happen, when we make the mistakes that we don't want to be making, when we are, trying to form new neural pathways and new patterns in our brain of ways of behaving and reacting and being in the world, when things happen, you say, hey, this is just a habit my brain has. No big deal. Nothing's gone wrong. And you move forward. And that is so much more powerful than, I can't believe you did that. You know better. We did all this work. Why is it not working? The whole thing, right? So embrace the growth.
Oh my goodness. This is amazing. You know, you want to talk too? One of the biggest, sorry guys. One of the biggest things that I found, and I've become so aware of it that at this point I warn my friends to check on me, 9 months postpartum. I'll have a really, fine time in the beginning. I'm all good. This is the 7th kid. I've got this. And then I start to, get into it, try to push myself, try to get back into, the routines and the things that I do and whatever. And then at around 8-9 months, I'll feel like I am my soul is running to where my body can't catch up.
Yeah.
I have all these great ideas. I want to do all these things. I totally feel like myself again, but I'm not there. I'm like totally not there. So my body is like slow motion. My brain is slow motion. Things are just not going the way I want them. And that's when it hits me. That's when it's like, oh, this is horrible. It's like, I can't do it. So I've realized it's a pattern for me. Like I actually took the time to think it through. I was like, okay, so this time around, I'm telling all my friends, like, don't worry about me. I don't need any meals until 9 months, right? Like that's gonna hit me, and that's when I'm gonna start feeling really low and really frustrated and really annoyed. So just bringing awareness, like you were saying, bringing awareness, being okay with it, saying, I'm becoming somebody. And I think also what you said was very powerful. It takes 2 years for the whole process to take place, and
minimum.
And for me, 9 months, I was like, okay, we're done. Let's move on, right?
Yeah, because I hear you loud and clear, and because I've changed so much after becoming a mother, I can see the differences. There's also a lot of us, or I shouldn't say it, some of us, we have this more masculine understanding of like productivity and growth and what it means to be productive and efficient. And so I was like you, at some point I was like, well, I used to do this and I should be able to do that. And what's going on with me? Like, oh, I had, there was one point in my life where I was working 4 jobs and going to school. And I'm like, so why can't I do just 2 and and figure this out? What happened to me? And I think that also we have to understand, we have to have respect for the process and hold space for the process. But I get that your soul is running ahead and your body, we have to like make it work together, because I'm like you in many times where I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go. But my body is like, no, you're not. And I have to just stop, listen, and be like, okay, this is part of the process. I have to embrace that growth. I have to have respect for the process. And it's not so much about what I'm producing and the final outcome as it is about the entire process.
One time I called my sister and I was like, I was a graphic designer and I was telling her, I'm not creative. I cannot create right now. Like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And she's like, are you kidding me? You are creating a baby. You're not creative. Right. And it's like, oh, because it's so true what you said about the, feminine and masculine energies. Like as much as we want to make this our way and to do it and to, get in touch with how we work differently, at the end of the day, we judge ourselves old fashioned. We have this like very old fashioned, like, you should be doing more and blah, 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 going through our heads. And especially since we're so capable, all of my people are extraordinary. Like all of the ladies I work with, we're like high level. We want to do it right. We want to make an impact. We know what we're capable of doing. So we're not willing to let ourselves down and be like, oh yeah, just take a break. Like, it doesn't work.
Yes. And you know what? I think that we're in another part to this. So we're focusing on the individual person, but another part to this is where we are in history. So I don't know if you've read the book Circle, Arrow, Spiral by Miriam Cosman. So I love that. I love that book. And basically she talks about, it's a Taurus perspective. It's a Jewish lens, but she talks about the masculine and the feminine and how there's supposed to be a synergy between the masculine and the feminine in terms of society and the world, right? And so in the beginning of time, it was a much more masculine, right? We know this from history that it was a very patriarchal society and more masculine. And now there's women can do so much more and to have their babies, right? So there's all of the new technology and all of the things, women are able to do more. But really, the point is that there should be a really nice synergy between the masculine and feminine. And so we're kind of coming into this time period where we're trying to get to that synergy. And so you have to realize that you might have a mindset, like the world has looked traditionally at productivity as the result, has not looked at productivity as the process, right? But I think we're coming to a time in the world where we're trying to balance that, to get into that balance. And so now the world is shifting a bit and saying, wait, there is something to the process. There is something to this feminine energy. And so you have to realize that there are those forces in the background too. It's not just your fault. You've kind of been conditioned that this is what productivity looks like. This is what accomplishment and goals look like. But now we're part of the generation. I believe, this is my belief, that we're part of the generation that is kind of bringing a synergy between those two energies.
I love that. I love that. So I talk about, the redemption, the time of redemption, and how women are going to rise to the top and become leaders and really, make an impact like we never had that before. And we're seeing it, we're seeing it so clearly where women are just like rising to the top. And my whole side of what I do is I help them improve their marriages instead of letting it tear you apart. Because if you're rising and your husband is stuck behind, it creates a gap. And that gap is something that the people we've seen, the women who we've heard about who've like really made it big, then go and say like, yeah, but I outgrew my marriage. I can't be in it anymore. And we don't want that. So how do you grow your marriage alongside your business so that you can completely break through and, do both? Because it's totally doable. You just have to
Yeah,
be,
that's amazing that
you
you
just
do
have
that.
to be conscious of it. But I love what you're saying because, with all of this, we still have the bodies and the capabilities of, having the kids and growing them. And like you said, this is our top priority. So how do we bring all that in? How do we find the equilibrium with all of that, amount of impact and amazing things? And then also what we actually really, really care about, which is our kids and growing them and, taking care of them and feeling like we can do it. Because we said we're growing our vessel, but we're, and so therefore we can do a lot more and can accept a lot more and receive and whatever. But we also are feeling heavier. Like we're feeling like we're carrying more. So how do we deal with that?
So I think there's a lot here. One is that I don't like to talk of it in terms of balance. I know a lot of people use the term balance, but I don't think that's true, because I think quantitatively and qualitatively there will never be a balance between our dreams and our children, and I don't think they should be in in competition with each other,
I
right?
love to say that because I say that all the time. I do not use the word balance. I use the word rhythm. I really like that there's seasons in life and that there's rhythm, and you have different rhythms for different seasons. I love that. I live that way, very much ups and downs. And what am I focusing on now? So yeah, keep going. I love that.
I love the use of the word rhythm. I've heard also the word synergy being used. So definitely thinking of it in terms of seasons rather than balance is much more helpful and productive and serves us better, right? So there will never quantitatively or qualitatively be an equal or a balance between your business, your dreams, and your children. So what do we do when we are feeling super depleted, but we do have these dreams and we do want to be the best mom to our children? There are a few pieces. One is that inner knowing piece, knowing when you need that time to refill your cup, to fill up your cup so that you can give to your children and your marriage and put in time that is useful and serving into your business or whatever it is that you are doing, your career, right? So knowing when it's time to fill up your cup. Another thing, a lot of moms, and I think people in general, make this mistake that it's going to take me so much time to do XYZ. Like if I take this time for myself, it's going to take away time from my kids, time from my business. So I'll be coming out with a podcast episode soon about time as your friend. I like to talk about this because I think we talk about time as our enemy very often. Like, I don't have time. I never have enough time. I don't have time to take care of myself. And if I do this, then my kids are going to suffer from it, or my business is going to suffer, right? If you make time your enemy, guess what? Time will be your enemy. And if you make time your friend, then time will be your friend. Okay. So I like to think of time in terms of it's a created thing in the world. There's an energy behind time, and we can work nicely, just like you work with a coach, or you have an energy between you and your husband, energy between you and other people, right? There could be an energy between you and time that is friendly and nice and loving and caring and giving, versus time is my enemy. So there's a misconception that when we take care of ourselves, when we do something for ourselves, it's going to take up a lot of time in our lives and take away from other things. That is not true. That doesn't have to be true. When I was pregnant with my youngest, I took a painting class. It was one hour once a week, and that was the highlight of my entire week. I worked on something for months, and we worked over a few months, and actually I painted this it was a painting of my husband praying, and that was his gift for his birthday, and I was due around his birthday. So I worked on this for months, and I have to get this done before I give birth, right? But that time was so precious to me, and it didn't take away from my children. If anything, it just gave me this peace, this calm, more capacity, more space to love and to give in my marriage, with my children, in my business, even to give to my clients, to grow, right? So
I
I
love that.
think, yeah, I think that is a big piece of it, is how are we looking at time? And do we really believe that giving to ourselves isn't actually taking away from anybody else?
It is so, so powerful and so easier said than done, because we are, like you said, we're conditioned to put ourselves last on the list. Everything else has to happen for me to take
Mm-hmm.
a break, or for me to take time for myself, or for me to, and a lot of people now, especially we're starting a new year, people are talking about planning your year and, creating your visions and, really plugging things into your calendar. Sit down and plug in you first. Plug in your vacations, plug in your self-care, plug in the things that you love to do, plug in your courses, plug in whatever it is you do, because it will not happen otherwise.
Yes, and plug in time to experiment with new things that maybe you'll find that you love and enjoy. A lot of times we don't do that. We don't plug in time to just play and experiment.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Plug in time for play. By the way, that's the first thing that's going to go when I need time for something.
Right. Exactly.
The awareness and the honesty to say, like, I cut that stuff out because I know, oh, I have a hole in my schedule, a hole in my schedule, right? Like the language even. I have a hole
Right.
in my schedule and this thing has to happen. So I guess I'll just cancel it out. I'm going to do that. I'm going to put playtime into my calendar. I'm excited about this.
Yes. Yes.
I know. I'm going to name it Coach Bayla Playtime. I'll
That's
call you at
right.
the end of the year to let you know how things went. It is because I know already. I know I'm that mature to know that if I stick to my playtime, my everything will blow up. Like everything will be amazing. My marriage,
Absolutely.
my business, my parenting, my self-care, because I will be in such a good place when I play. I'm an artist. I love to play, but I don't let
Yes, me
myself
too.
play because it's not productive,
But
right?
that's a big false
It's
lie.
exactly. It's just about the journey and not about the result at all. And it's scary to put time for that. It's scary to like really. So I'm excited. I'm taking on the challenge. Who else is taking on the challenge? Let us know.
Yes, and I love that you said that, by the way, that it's scary to take it on. I think we need to acknowledge, because we have been conditioned and grown up in societies that there was a certain emphasis on that productivity, or, getting things done, or, things looking a certain way. We need to acknowledge when we're feeling that fear. We need to be okay with that and say, it's okay to be afraid. I'm doing something different, doing something I'm not used to. And that's going to help us go for it, because a lot of times women will be like, yeah, they'll be excited. They'll listen to this podcast and they'll be like, yes, I'm going to put in my playtime. And then the playtime comes up and they have that fear and they're like, but you know what? I have so many other things to do. But feel into that fear. It's okay. It's okay. It's just a habit. Just a habit my brain has, because I'm not used to this and I'm trying something new. And that's the embrace step, embracing the growth.
Yes, 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 yes. Oh my gosh. This should be the highlight of our entire podcast, is like embrace the feeling and just give it a name. You are a habit in my brain. It's we have soundtracks. They just
Mm-hmm.
play on repeat. They just repeat all, like my kids say, all we need is you on repeat to tell us to close the door and it's all good. It is exactly that. Your brain is doing the same thing. It just keeps repeating the same thing over and over again.
Exactly. 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 And you know what? It's kind of something I learned from parenting, actually, which has helped me a lot in my own personal life with emotions and in coaching, is, I think in the beginning when my toddler would throw a tantrum, it was like trying to fix the situation. Like, what do I do to make him feel better? And how do I fix this? And I don't want him to cry, and right, all of this. And the longer I tried to fix the situation, the more he tantrumed and the longer it became. And as soon as I learned in parenting, it's not a problem. Feelings aren't a problem. It's okay for him to have a tantrum. Just be there for him and hold space for his feelings. As soon as I hug him and I'm like, it's okay, mommy's here. It's like, okay, he gets it out and he moves on and it's over. And I'm like, that was magic. But we can do that to ourselves. We can say, it's okay for you to be here, fear. It's just a habit I have. Like, it's okay. I'm trying something new. And it'll be so much more productive. It'll be so much better than, oh no, what should I do? I shouldn't feel this way. Maybe I shouldn't do it. And you're trying to stop the feeling. Because a lot of times we get caught in that.
Yes. 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 Oh my gosh. This is amazing. So good. Now let's get into marriage because, my podcast is all about how, whatever we're talking about has to do with marriage.
Yes.
Having young children, in my opinion, is one of the biggest stressors on marriage. From my experience. You take two young people who are so in love and so excited about life. They're on this new journey together. They're on fire. They're so excited to take on the world. And then they have a baby. Talk about throwing things, between the wheels. It is so hard for most people. And, if you're normal and if you're human, my baby agrees. If you're normal and human, you are going to feel this. What just happened? And if you're aware of it and you know it's coming, it's easier, but it still hits.
Yeah, I mean, I was blessed that I always wanted to be a mom. That was my thing. Forever, I wanted to be a mom. When I was 5, I asked my mom, like, how do we have babies? Because I want a baby. And I literally always wanted to be a mom. And then I was really blessed because 9.5 months after I got married, I had my first child. I will say, first of all, there's an adjustment period to marriage that kind of gets skipped over when you get pregnant, right away.
Yeah, but that happened to me too.
Right. So there's that marriage adjustment period.
The first thing I felt was guilty. Like, why was that so easy and everybody else has it so hard? And I had to get through that feeling too. But yeah, go ahead. Yeah. I totally agree. Just like you become a mom and it takes minimum of 2 years. Oh my gosh, you have to really give marriage its time to work itself out. So we skip that.
Yeah, so some of us skip that, and that's okay. That's why you're here, right? That's what you coach on. So some of us do skip that. We go straight to becoming a mom. But there's that at play. So there's the marriage at play. There's the relationship dynamic at play. And then there's at play matrescence and you changing on a biological level and you having a shift in your identity and you feeling different. And you're also within a marriage. So that has a big impact as well.
And you just said it. The fact that you, hey, I'm talking. The fact that you change. The fact that you change is you turn, the husband turns around. Chill out for a minute. 1 second. Here we go. Okay. The fact that you change, your husband's like, where'd the wife I married, right? Like, what happened to that girl that, we had all these dreams and all this energy and all this stuff. And it's like, so what happened to you? And like, I have no idea where she went, but she's not coming back.
Oh, that's great.
So it's a huge thing. It's a huge thing. And Louisa says in her comments, yes, when we had our first child, my husband and I had a lot of stress in our marriage. And I love that she's so honest about that because it's really important to be aware of how normal this is and not freak out. Just like you said about the tantrum, tantrums happening. Nobody can control that. Do you freak out or do you know that I have the tools I need in order to deal with this? That's where we want to get to, right? To know what to do in order not to completely fall apart. Your marriage is going to go through stages and it's going to have those ups and downs. It's going to have these things that are thrown at it and you have to figure out what to do. Having kids is one of those things. Like you are changing, your entire brain is changing, your entire life, your being is really growing and maturing, and it's part of the journey. So don't freak out and don't think, oh, that's it, this is crazy, it's over, whatever. No, like gather yourself and be okay with where you are. Oh, so good. Keep talking about this.
Okay, so there's other things that we should recognize too, and that is, so I don't I work only with moms. I don't work with dads, but my husband once made a funny comment and he said, I need a matrescence coach. You're a matrescence coach. I need a matrescence coach. And he made it as a funny comment, but there actually is research that does say that dads do change as well. However, it's not necessarily to the same degree that the mothers change or on the same timeline as the mothers. So the mothers experience this very quickly because of the biology and the things that are happening with pregnancy with their body. So you have two people in a marriage that are both going through, maybe one is going through a little less changes, a little slower. They're both adapting to this new child. So now you got three people in the marriage, and then you're adding to the family and you have more people, right? Because you have the baby in the marriage and in the family, and you're adding to the family. So you start to have to consider, it used to be you're this one person, you consider your needs only. But then you got married and you had to learn how to consider another's needs. And then you have a baby and you have to learn how to consider their needs. And then you have to consider those other children's needs. And there's that feeling of, oh, wait a second, I have to take care of my needs, my husband's needs, my children's needs, right? You start to feel this obligation.
And they're all part of you. That's the thing. It's so powerful because it's part of you. It's not like you're like, oh, leave those other people behind. They're external from you. No, they're not. They are not external. Like you get married, you become one. You are one. You feel it. You cannot just be like, well, he could do his thing and I'll do my thing. It doesn't work because I think there should be a word for this, but just like matrescence has like this, like you went through a process. When you get married, you are physically in a way, like, it's spiritually for sure, but there is something that happens to you that you no longer have that option of just like, okay, that's it. So I guess I could just take care of myself and he'll take care of himself. And so then we go. It's not like your main priority is to make sure that your other half is okay. And then your kids are part of you. There's no way to detach that. So I think that Louisa brings in a really good point in this comment. She says, my husband felt neglected by his wife because I shifted all my focus on my children. And I hear this very often, very often. Instead of focusing on my marriage, I figured that's taken care of because we're married. And, everything is, what do my kids need? How do I do for my kids? And as a mother, you really embrace that. But before we address that, I want to just say something that I remembered I wanted to say about your first thing. Fathers do go through it. You see it, just like a mother has this like mama bear reaction when her kid gets something. Somebody does something to her kid and you're like, Rrr! The fathers have it too, right? So develop these extra superpowers that they didn't have before. Of course, it's not on the same level. It's not physical in the same way, but you see them. You see that they are going through their own changes. And I think it's really important because I know men who have postpartum depression just like a woman would because of the amount of changes that are going on in their lives. So it's super important to just really give it, legitimize it, make it totally like, it's okay. You're doing fine. You're going through your own changes. Everybody here is going through, like, we're all transitioning together. We're all growing. We're all becoming, it's not like women only or only those who, like you were saying before we went live, which I loved, people who, women who adopt or be surrogate. You are actually going through the same physical changes in a slower pace. That's crazy. That's absolutely
the brain of a mother who is not a biological mother, but she's an adoptive mother or a stepmother. Her brain will eventually look like the brain of a woman who has given birth to a child. It is a longer process. It takes longer. It's different because there's not the pregnancy hormones that kickstart it, right? But her brain will look that way. And you know what? Fathers probably have a similar trajectory to that, as maybe it takes a little bit longer, but their brain also will look different.
Yes. And I love that. I love that I remembered to just mention that because it's so mind-blowing.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. And you're saying this is new research. I think it's amazing to see what's going to come out of this because there is so much in here.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful to it's that validation of, oh, so I've been right all along why we feel this way and why we're going through this, you know? So it's really, a lot of women find it very validating and helpful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Just this week, I had an encounter with a very good friend who had a baby.
Okay.
And she's telling me she's really like so tired, so out of her skin, so not herself. It's really painful to her. Like she just can't figure it out. And I said, you have to be okay with where you are so that you could get on the next level. You know, I told her the M part.
The meet step, right? Meet yourself where you're
Yes,
at.
meet yourself where you're at. And it almost made her cry because she doesn't want to. Like, it's like, yeah, whatever, right? It's like, she has so much resistance to it that I felt like I hurt her feelings just by saying that. But as
Mm.
a coach, and maybe it's my fault because I wasn't asked. As a coach, I know you have to just stop and pause and let yourself be. You know, you can, by the way, she's 3 weeks postpartum. It's not like,
Wow.
whatever. It's like you just had a baby and you're
Mm.
totally, it's all normal. You're not sleeping, you're not eating right, you're not taking care of yourself. You have this new baby, it's like totally dependent on you. Your hormones are still out of whack. You're still completely like obsessed with things. Like your brain is not fully developed. Like there's something going on. And thank God you're saying it's also physical, because until now we were all just believing that it's, invisible.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so much going on. Just like, be okay with it now. She doesn't want to be. She's just, and it was really hard for me to watch because I love her so much. And I'm sure this is what a husband feels for his wife, is like,
Yes.
how can I help you? What can I do for you? Because I see that you're suffering and I don't know what to do. So can you give us advice for the fathers, since we're already talking about them?
Oh, advice for the fathers. That's great. Well, first of all, I think I just want to one step back 1 second and touch on this friend of yours. I think she also probably just wants to be reassured that she will eventually. I mean, I tell women, that I help moms feel like themselves again. The truth is, you're never going to feel exactly like yourself because we're not putting you back in that box of who you are. We're expanding who you are. But I think she just wants to be reassured that she'll get back there. She'll get back to who she is, and really, she'll get even further than that because she'll really expand who she is. She'll expand her potential in all areas of her life. So I think that could be super helpful. But let's go to advice for the fathers when they see their wives going through this and they feel totally helpless. It's kind of like the baby having a tantrum, and you're like, what do I do? Right?
I
So,
felt this when I went with a friend of mine to her birth. She asked me, she's like, you're the person I need there. Just be there and call me and, talk to me and whatever. Fine. I went, I helped her. It was amazing. And I couldn't help her through like the pain. When
yeah.
I'm in it, I know what helps me. I know what to do. I'm feeling the pain. And you're just watching her. And I, for the first time in my life, after I had so many of my own kids, and for the first time in my life, I realized what a husband is going through. He wants
Mm.
so badly to help, and there's nothing he can do.
That is so powerful, such a powerful image, like talking about your friend in the birth and like just realizing that you feel so helpless and that's what he feels like.
Yes.
That is, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
what's
think it's
my, yeah,
parallel. It is. It's so parallel. So go ahead. Tell us. What do you think?
So what's my advice? So for the husbands, I think like this. One, you have to, before you're able to meet your wife where she's at, because I think you can help her with that step, just like we do for our children in parenting, and just like we do for our clients in coaching, right? You can meet your wife where she's at. You can make space for the feelings that she has and what she's going through. And you can also know yourself that this is totally normal, that nothing's gone wrong. I mean, obviously, if someone has a diagnosis or you think she might have postpartum depression, then you want to get her help, right? But if she is just, going through that process of matrescence, knowing that it's totally normal, knowing that nothing's gone wrong, and making space for her process, giving her time to be how she is now, that I think will be much more helpful, both, and will serve her better and serve you as the husband better to do that, rather than how do I make her better? How do I fix her? How do I help her
Mhm.
feel better? It doesn't mean you can't do nice things for her. Sure, bring her home flowers. Sure, make her feel special. It doesn't mean that. It just means She's going through something. It's normal. I'm going to allow her to go through those emotions, and I'm just going to be here for her. Just like I tell my tantrum, when my baby is tantruming, I stand to the side and I say, Mommy's here for you. When you need me, I'm here for you. And I just talk lovingly and calmly. I mean, it's a funny analogy, but I do it because parenting is right in our faces, right? So
I think it's a very good analogy, because when you can get into that space of realizing that the best thing you can do is just be, just be. When I started crying when we just got married, my husband was like, something's wrong. She's leaking. Like, we really did not know what to do with a girl crying. He's a boy of, in a family of 4 boys. So there is no crying ever in their family, except when somebody's beating up someone else. And that's probably, normal to them and whatever. It's like, what do you do? And I'm like, I just need you to sit here and listen to me. I was like, okay. Right. And I had to train him on what this means. Like, what do I actually need when I'm just crying? And I says, you're not listening. You don't care. And he's like, I'm right here. I care. I don't know what else to say. I'm like, you're supposed to say, and I'm like coaching him through crying, because I know I know in my head, my conscious is like, he doesn't know. You just have to help him. And my other part is like, but he should know. So, and we get into this when we when we do marriage stuff, is like, of course he should know, because he's a prophet. Like, men they don't know. They really don't know. But that's exactly it, is just be.
Yeah.
Just be here, be with them, allow them to be. It's so powerful.
Yes. Yeah,
it's
just being present.
Contain the situation. Like, just hold it.
Yeah.
So powerful. So powerful. And a lot of my I won't say it's my clients, it's more my connect calls, because these are people who don't know how to take care of themselves to the point where they won't invest in coaching because they don't think they deserve it.
Okay.
My husband won't let me take care of myself, is like an excuse, or we don't have the money, so why should I use it on that? Or, there's a lot of excuses that we use for why we're not putting ourselves first. Like you were saying, the last E is really, really important. And that's the practical step of, like, take care of yourself. And from my experience and my research, men want you to take care of yourself, and they will tell you to, and we just don't let ourselves.
Absolutely. And you want to know something so interesting? And my coach used to tell me this all the time, the coach that I learned under, and I didn't quite get it until I experienced it myself. She said, it doesn't matter. Pick one thing you want to get coached on. You want to get coached on your weight loss, your health. You want to get coached on your marriage, on being a mom, on your business. When you get coached on that, and when you up level that area of your life, all the other areas of your life are going to change. Yes. And until you experience that, you won't understand it until you experience it and you see for yourself that it's true. Pick it and work on it. It could be one area. And that's, your husband instinctively knows, well, first of all, he wants you to be happy, right? Your husband wants you to be happy. Your husband loves you. That's number one. And number two is, it's going to be better for your marriage. Whatever you end up getting coached on, marriage coaching, coaching on being a mother, coaching on your business, coaching on your money mindset, it is going to help you, reconceptualize that identity. You're going to have that new identity of what you're capable of, and that is going to show up in all areas of your life.
Yes. I always say this. When I finally got, Debbie was my first coach. When I finished my 6 months with her, I right away went to another coach for 3 months who had a group coaching. That was really lovely. I loved it. And then after that, I signed up for a year, because I realized the impact of being with a coach in your life. I can be a better coach when I am being coached, right? Because I'm in that mindset of, like, collapsing time. How do you turn on the lights in this dark room, right? It's just by getting someone who knows what they're doing, who knows what they're saying, who knows who sees it from a different perspective, and who's been there, right?
100%.
This is so powerful. This is so powerful. And if men are listening to us and getting all of our amazing advice about how to be there for your wife, make sure that you tell her straight out to go get coaching because it will validate her, it will close the gap between, oh, but he won't let me. He does. He wants you to have it, right? Maybe you have to find the right coach. Maybe you have a process of, a journey of listening to a bunch of people and figuring out who you really, really connect with and who you think is going to be good for you. But get on that process. Don't be so resistant to it, because it's so powerful. And by the way, I was resistant to it until I blamed it on my business, that, oh, I need it for my business to grow. I need coaching. And then it's like, oh, never mind. I really need it because I need to become who it's phenomenal what happens, who you become when you take coaching.
Absolutely. I have this analogy of what a coach is. And I say, think of a coach like a mirror. Like, let's imagine you had your makeup smudge, like your lipstick smudge, and you're walking around all day with this smudge of lipstick on your face. Maybe, not always, but maybe eventually you'll like glance in a store window and you'll see it and you'll like rub it off. Or maybe eventually someone will tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, your makeup smudge. But imagine if you had that mirror in front of you right away in the morning, you take care of it in the first 2 minutes and it's done. And that is what a coach is. They're like that mirror that can just reflect everything back to you. And actually, people think it takes more time or more money. It saves you time. It saves you money. It saves you energy, because you take care of it right away with that mirror.
Yes, that's what Debbie says. It collapses time all the time. It really does. It's like, I talk about it, God is our, the ultimate everything. So he's very much my coach. You bring God into the situation and you see in a dark room, you bump into the table, you bump into the chair, you bump into the couch, you turn on the light, you don't bump into anything. And you're like, wow, this is magic. No, it's not magic. It's just how it works. You're actually seeing what's going on because you're connected.
That's beautiful. Absolutely.
I love that. Oh my goodness. Okay. So how could people get in touch with you and be around you and get your coaching and get all of your amazing stuff?
Okay, this is really exciting because I just launched my podcast last week, and I have a bonus episode about how to prepare for the holidays with simplicity and joy that was released yesterday. So you can find my podcast. It's called Awaken to You for Moms, and it's on all the major podcast outlets. You can also go to my website, Coach Bayla, BAYLA.com. And I'm across social media, Instagram, Facebook, at Coach Bayla. So that's where you can find me.
Wow. I love it. I'm so excited about your podcast. Congratulations.
Thank you. Me too.
And I think you're phenomenal. There's something so, so beautiful and eloquent about the way that you do things and that the way you explain them and the way that you hold space. You are absolutely amazing. And I have to tell you that live because it is so obvious when I'm talking to you. And even like when we started, it was like, boom. I'm like, yes, she's got it. Right. It's just, there's something really amazing about it. So congratulations on that. I'm very excited. And I'm going to
so much. I'm going to
go subscribe.
Thank you.
Go subscribe. Louisa says, great session. I'm so happy you loved it. Thank you for listening live. I love it that we have live guests and comments because it really enriches. And thank you for being so honest also. So thank you, everyone. We will see you next time. Until then.
Thank you so much.